it's 2 minutes after past. So thank you everybody for joining. I think the first thing to note is that the session will be recorded, so it will be available later for people to refer back to, and also for colleagues to refer to as well, for anybody that unfortunately couldn't make it today. You will notice that there is myself and also Michaela on camera today. Michaela's kindly joining us from Creditsafe, just to go into a little more detail around some of the products that are part of the contracts that I'm going to go into just now. So I will kick off effectively just saying, just as a bit of background really. So from a contracting point of view, that we've been partnered with Creditsafe for a number of years now, and the contract has been incredibly successful. It's grown exponentially from where it was originally in terms of the scope and also the usage around that. So with that, obviously the threshold for a cumulative total came into play this time around for a contract, and we ran a fully competitive tender process as a collaboration between all the English UK UPC consortia, so ourselves at NEUPC leading, and then with our partners at LUPC, SUPC and NWUPC, to work on kind of a nationwide unified contract where we can look at economies of scale and just to be able to get the most out of it for users in terms of functionality and what have you. So thanks to everybody who's taken part in that tender process, and I'm pleased to say that at the end of it all there were 4 bids in total, but Creditsafe were successful in retaining the contract. So there are a number of enhancements that will be taking place just from the point of view from Michaela and I, a lot of things in the background where we can meet on a frequent basis to be having discussions around usage, making sure that people are getting the most out of it if it's being used in the right way and what have you. But in terms of the service itself, I think the services that I wanted to touch on, and then Michaela can go into a little more detail just for the uninitiated amongst us who may not have had much exposure to this previously, to say what the reports are and what they're used for and what they do. So I will do that initially, and then I will hand over to Michaela so she can go through these in more detail. So all these are reports that are included as an overall package for ourselves. This time we've managed to, rather than looking at bundles and various things in terms of reports, we've done it on a very much kind of product-based basis, so that each of the types of product that we're talking about has a certain usage cap applied to it nationwide, and then there's a direct cost to that. So if we're heavily overusing in certain areas, then we can address what that would look like moving forward. But it's good to know that we've got that broken down in that way. And the services that we have is the UK and Ireland reports, and Creditsafe country reports. Creditsafe countries, there's a small handful of them, and all these will be denoted in the Hunter system. If you look on there, it'll tell you what these countries are. It's effectively Benelux, Nordics, Germany, and there's probably a couple of others that I've forgotten, so forgive me. But again, the list is there in Hunter that's where Creditsafe has a physical presence and are known as Creditsafe home countries, so they're included within there as well. We've got USA reports. Of the foreign reports that we use, they tend to be the ones that are the highest usage anyway, so we looked at how we could probably reconfigure that to best support it and drive best value from that particular area. There's also Italy reports as well that we use a fair number of, so there's so many of those capped as well. And then ones that were there previously in the previous iterations of this contract prior to the last one, there's the offline reports option for either the rest of the world as it's known, other than Middle East and North Africa, and they're ones where the information isn't as readily available online, so you can refer to this through to Creditsafe and they can do some offline work for us, and that's on a pay-as-you-go sort of basis, but that we've secured a number of those up front so we can discuss that as and when required. And then the additional functionality that came on during the last contract that's proven to be pretty popular. There was the bank verification element of it, and also what was KYC Protect, which covers us for things like PEP and sanctions, for due diligence on potential and prospective suppliers. So there's a fair amount of functionality there to go over, and I know Michaela is ready and waiting to give us a bit of a rundown on what each of these are and where you're best using them and what they do. So I'll hand over to you, Michaela, but I will very much still be around, and I'll be keeping an eye on the chat function as well, just if any questions do come through in the interim. What we'll do is we'll wait until the end of Michaela's section of this, and we can ask any questions then, and then we'll do the same thing at the end as well as kind of a mop up. But yes, Michaela, please.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very mumuch, guys. Obviously, there's lots and lots of people on the call, so thank you all for joining. I've got a little bit of a cough at the moment, so you'll have to bear with me. But we'll do that. But just by way of introduction, so I'm Michaela Brown. I'm the account director at Creditsafe. Been here for probably too many years, 23, 24 years coming up now. Clearly started when I was 5. But yeah, I deal with sort of our larger, more strategic accounts, hence the NEUPC account coming over to me a couple of years ago now. So I've been working quite closely with Matt over the last couple of years, and obviously working through the tender to try and make sure that we would cover not just what you've got now, but sort of future proofing the contract for you as well with the products and solutions that Creditsafe have. Creditsafe, yes, it does provide credit reports, but there's so much more that Creditsafe can offer. And again, you know, as and when things sort of evolve and it opens up, if you've got any questions or you've got a further requirement, obviously by putting it through Matt and then coming to myself, I'm sure we'll be able to handle that for you. I'll deal with anything from credit reports right through to integration, API, onboarding solutions, retrospective analysis, so anything like that really. One thing I will say as well, to touch on what Matt said, I mean, obviously this contract is in place for you guys in procurement, but I have had quite a few requests from other areas in some of the colleges, universities, and other areas like finance and sales. So if any of your other counterparts in any other part of the business or the university want to access to the information, we can do that. It would be separate to this contract, but we would do it, but we'd obviously look at giving preferential rates for them as well if there was any further needs in the business, and that would just come through direct to myself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Oh, can you hand control over to me, Matt, please, darling?
I was coming on for Teams, but anyway, there we go.
You'll all be familiar with this screen where you log into Creditsafe, and then Creditsafe, you come to the home screen here. First thing to note is that the way that Creditsafe is set up is we want to make it very, very easy for people to find a credit report, whether that's for UK and Ireland, which we class as our basic UK package, where you can get all of the information. Every business in the UK is registered, obviously has to file accounts within a certain time period, and with Ireland. So that's our core company based reports. But obviously we do offer reports worldwide, and yes, you've got home countries. So like Matt said, we've got home countries which are where Creditsafe have a presence. We tend to own the data in those countries, so we can offer a much wider coverage and better discounts on the reports. And then we've got, for the other areas, we just class us as worldwide reports. So you've obviously, like Matt said, you've got USA, Asia, Africa, worldwide, Italy included in those as well. Just because it gives you better discount, the way that we've bundled the package together. But when you say it, I'm not about to teach anybody how to suck eggs, so please forgive me. You know, for some people, I don't know this level of people on the call who uses what. So I'm just going to do quite a high level overview of the actual platform and where to find things. If any of you need a little bit more in depth, then obviously you can reach out through Matt, and I'm more than happy to do sort of, you know, if you need some one-to-one training or you'd specifically have a requirement, it's not an issue. I'm happy to help do that for you as well. Okay. When you come in, it's defaulted automatically to UK because that's the country that you're based in. But if you drop down here, this will give you a list in alphabetical order of all of the countries that Creditsafe has data available. If there's a green dot, it means that that country is online and subject to the business actually having credit data and being credit active, you will find a credit report available. If there's a grey dot, I'm going to scroll down, so watch your eyes, guys. These countries where it's a grey dot means that there isn't a credit report instantly available online and you do have to order it. You'll notice there that you've got Jersey, Guernsey and Channel Islands. They have a separate registry to the UK registry, and it's the FCA, and you just can't get the data available. So you have to order those reports as an offline request. I think we've had that as a couple of questions previously. So just to make you aware, the Channel Islands, Jersey, Guernsey and Isle of Man do have a separate registry. So that's classed as an offline report, but I will cover how you can order those shortly. But all you need to do is obviously select the country that you're interested in. It automatically defaults to the UK. But if you wanted Germany, you don't have to scroll down to Germany. You can just start to type Germany. And once you put Germany and select that, you're now in the German database and you just put the details for the German company. Same for USA. United States of America. We're now in the United States database. So again, it's just to make it really, really simple, and it will automatically always have United Kingdom at the top for you to default back to the United Kingdom. But when you're searching for a credit report, I'm just going to put our business in. You can search by putting the name in. You can put the registration number in. But if it doesn't come up, say it's a weird and wonderful name, or you don't have all of the name, if you click on Go to Advanced Search and click here, you can then put the VAT number in, telephone number.
Accounts at MPL. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I think somebody's not on mute.
But if you reply all.
Sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, that's fine. And then you can search under different ways here. So it just gives you a little bit more help if you don't have the registration number, or if you've been given a weird and wonderful name, or you've not been given the full company name. By clicking on Advanced Search, it will give you this option here, and then you can just search. But I'm just going to search under the name. What I always say is don't put the full name in, just put part of the name in, because if there's any other businesses that have a similar or same name, it will list them down for you. So I'm just going to select Creditsafe Business Solutions because that's the one that I want. And this is the main body of the report. You'll always have the summary. You'll have a risk score, an international score. This is your monthly credit limit and your maximum credit limit that we would suggest in a 12-month period. Again, this is just a guidance. It's completely up to you. We're just giving you that limit based on the scorecard that we have in place. And the scorecard that we build is based on obviously the business itself, the turnover of the business sector it's in, the directors, so the people behind the business, how long the business has been going, payment information, as in how are they paying their creditors, and obviously key looking at the debts that they have as well, and any borrowings. There's quite a lot of things that Creditsafe will look at, and obviously will be given a score. Things that will change the score, obviously usual things, new accounts coming in if the accounts have had a negative impact from the previous year, county court judgments, any winding up petitions, anything like that, insolvency information. If their days beyond terms, which is the DBT, is their payment information, if that starts to increase and they're taking longer to pay, again, that will affect the credit score. To give you an idea of how we rate and what does this 87 mean, if you look at scores and indicators on the next tab and scroll down, we actually give them in different bandings, so you can see them here. So for most companies with filed accounts and established businesses, we go from a score of 1 to 100. So 1 to 20 being very high risk, so on and so forth. So you can see from 71 to 100, we class this business as very low risk. We've got a score for newly incorporated businesses, again, because you don't have any financials. But on a newly incorporated business, we will look at, again, the business, its sector, where it's based, and the directors, and what share capital have they put in to the business to get the business going. And again, we'll look at directors if they've got any links with any other companies, any previous appointments, any dissolutions, disqualified directors. Again, all of that will equate to the score that we give for a newly incorporated business. And then for our international score, again, it's down here. It's from A to E. And again, it's just very straightforward. And again, all of that is using the Creditsafe score. On the summary page, you will have the key details of the business. You'll have information about the business itself, any VAT numbers when it was incorporated, the active status or the status of the business, any contact information. And again, this is all given on the back of, so if there's any telephone numbers and email addresses or websites, this isn't information that Creditsafe have put on. It's at the time that they file their accounts, and that information is given when the business files their accounts. So if there's an old telephone number on there, it means the business hasn't changed it when they've sent in their new set of accounts. Creditsafe do not update telephone numbers or email addresses, just to make you aware. We also have the TPS flag. So if any of you are using the data for, if any marketing people or you want to contact them. So again, it's the telephone preference service. And if there's an N in there, it means that they're okay, they don't mind receiving telephone calls. If you have a Y in there, it means that they don't want to be contacted by the telephone. But again, that's just something so people know what TPS means. Coming down again, just a little bit more additional information. What's the SIC code? What's the principal activity of the business? What share capital is in there? And the date of their filing of accounts. You'll see a SAFE number, which is a UK number. This is a unique identifier that Creditsafe give to every business on our database, just because it denotes the number for ourselves. Most businesses, we will obviously use the registration number because that's the unique identifier. But some businesses, like say if it was a non-limited, won't have a registration number. So that's why Creditsafe give it a SAFE number. And that's carried throughout all of our credit reports, whether it be UK, international, or non-limited, or offline reports. Every one of them we will give a SAFE number. So if you did want to start incorporating this when you're storing things or saving things rather than registration number, that will get you straight to the business on Creditsafe. But of course, you can always use the registration number if you want to. Again, exceptions. Exception is a product that Creditsafe have where it's saying that there's something that's a little bit unusual. Not saying it's fraud or anything like that, but there's just something a little bit unusual about this particular business. And on this one here, it's pointing out that we've got persons of significant control that are based overseas, which is right, because obviously our parent company is in the Netherlands, in Spain, so we do have like overseas ownership, but because it's a UK business with such a high turnover and credit limit, that's why it's coming up. If you start to see multiple exceptions, and there's lots of things that we would cover, i.e. there's been a mass resignation but no management buyout, the turnover's dramatically increased but they haven't had an acquisition, they filed their accounts very, very quickly, they've moved registered office 2 or 3 times, normally those are signs that there's something not quite right going on with the business. If you ever see any of these, if you just go straight through to Matt, and Matt will then come through to myself, and we'll get you the information as to what we believe is going on with the business. So this is just something to watch out for, that, look, there's something not quite right, or there's something just a little bit strange. Again, you've got holding company details. Oh, sorry, if there's any CCJs, they'll be in here for you. Holding company details, key financials, and then we look at the payment summary to give you an idea of how are they paying the debts. And then you just get a little commentary from ourselves, and then the inquiry summary at the bottom. And that just shows how many checks have been done on this business. As you can imagine, this Creditsafe gets used a lot when we're doing demos and things like that, which is why these are quite high. But if you see quite high ones on a business that you're looking at, it means it's being very credit active. So that's maybe something else to watch out for as well. Coming through, so you've got directors and shareholders. I'm only going to go on the tabs where you have data available and it's in your contract. So you can actually drill down into each of the directors should you wish to do so. One of the products that we have that we're looking at building and future-proofing for you is the Verify report. This is a new report that Creditsafe have built. And basically, this is taking the director's full date of birth and home address. We keep that as a file separately. I don't know if you recall, many years ago, Companies House put in that directors don't have to put their full name, their full date of birth and home address when they're filing accounts, but they still have to put that information through to Companies House. We get that on a separate file. So what we've done with that data is to help look at more from a KYC perspective to know who is running the business. We use the full name, date of birth and address and look at the public data sources to pull through potentially any adverse information. So we're looking at the electoral roll, if that director has any personal CCJs against them, if they're using a deceased person's details, and that's from the Halo database, and the insolvency database, which is obviously the Gazette, if there's any individual insolvencies against the director. If there are, you'll see a triangle. And to click on the report, you just click on it and it will give you, this is a dummy example, by the way, guys. Don't think we've got directors at Creditsafe who have CCJs. This is just a dummy example. But it will show you that, yes, they're on the voters roll and have been for the last 2 years. These are the CCJs that they have. So again, it will give you the name and different names and different variations of the names. It will pick it all up. Against matching against the date of birth, the date of the CCJ, the amount, case number, and then obviously if any of them are still outstanding or satisfied. If they're using a deceased person's details, it will tell you the name of the person that they're using. This is the registration of the death certificate and obviously when the death was registered. So again, you can see here that this one, this Patricia A. Jones, they are using a deceased person's details. And if there's any insolvencies, and again, just remember this is individual insolvency, it'll be bankruptcy, IVA, or debt relief orders against the individual. It will show them all here for you. So it's just a little bit more now to look at who is running the business, who is behind the business. Then you've got your key financials. Again, I'm not going to go through these. You give you up to 5 years worth, and it's the full balance sheet if it's available, or you'll get a consolidated profit and loss depending on the turnover of the business. Event history. This is something to have a look at. So it will show you the events of the business. So look, this is when they filed their accounts, confirmation statements, if there's been any director changes or change of registered offices, things like that, it'll list it all here for you. And then coming down, if there's any change of names, you'll see them all here. And you also get the score history. So you can see whether the score's going up or down, and it will give you it all here, as well as the credit limit history. So you can see how well has your business been performing and what's going on with the business. But again, when you see that, the financials will be able to tell you the tale of how have they been doing, looking at the balance sheet and the profit and loss. Group structure speaks for itself. It will tell you where the business is. And if you scroll down until you find this is where your business sits in the group structure. So you can see, obviously, Creditsafe, it's a massive group. There's lots and lots of different businesses in lots of different companies. And then again, you'll see here, who's the ultimate owner, so who is the UBO of the business. You'll have all of that there. Coming through, any negative information will be here. If there's any CCJs, rates, trade credit, if there's anything here, it'll just be shown, but you will see it on the summary page for you as well. Image documents, you can come in straight into Companies House and take images. That's again part of your package. So again, if you want to look at anything, if you want to see the full accounts, you can obviously take the account images or returns, and then you can get access to those as well. Payment analysis, we receive a data file coming on a daily basis, as well as lots and lots of other files. I mean, it's always updated, is the database 24/7. And we will obviously have certain times of the day where we will load and refresh all of the data. So we actually get in payment information. Again, it's all done anonymously, so you wouldn't know who Creditsafe have invoices outstanding for, or what have they paid, or what's outstanding, but it just gives you an idea as to how the business is paying. And again, this is driven up here by the days beyond terms score. General information, again, it goes through charges if there's been any acquisitions, VAT details. Trade debtors is one maybe to have a look at. So this is a list of all of the businesses that Creditsafe has had somebody go bust on them. So the latest one that we had was in August last month. This business went insolvent and they left Creditsafe with a debt of £600. Again, this is public information, but we receive a file, so we keep it up to date. But again, you know, that's not going to make any damage to Creditsafe looking at these amounts. But if that was 60,000, that the next one was 20,000, 10,000, all of a sudden it might have an, you know, it may have an impact on the business and the potential working capital of the business as well. So it's just something to bear in mind and to look at. And I think that's the body of the report. To add something to monitoring from here, you can click on more actions. Oh, sorry. To print or save the PDF of the report, you can save or print it, you can email it to yourself, and you can do that simply here. If you want to monitor the business, you simply click on monitor, select the portfolio that you have in place, and then you can automatically add it to monitoring should you wish to do so. I think Matt's going to touch on monitoring in a second, so I'll leave that for Matt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I will mention just at that juncture, just around that with monitoring, that it really is important that when monitoring is taking place, there's some best practice guides on Hunter anyway that we've produced, but from a monitoring point of view, it's really important that the portfolios are maintained and looked after, because otherwise you end up with a lot of legacy updates coming through. And the biggest danger with that, of course, is that if a monitoring alert comes through and somebody clicks on through to the report, every time that happens, it's taking another report away from our allowance for the year. You can set parameters in there, as Michaela will probably touch on, as to how you do that. Just to basically narrow the field and just to bring it more in line with things that where you would require action to be taken. So if there was a significant drop in credit limit, for instance, or if their score changed significantly, but I think it's worthwhile looking at what you would class as significant and at which point you would want to take action to intervene at that point. And they're the ones that need to be tracked. I mean, it is touched on in the user guide, but yeah, I think Michaela's absolutely right there in terms of monitoring it. If you're putting it in the portfolios and they're active suppliers, it just makes it so much easier to manage. But yeah, sorry for the interjection, Michaela. Thank you very much.
No, it's fine, Matt, not an issue at all. So again, you can add it to monitoring, and then, you know, it's monitored for the 12-month period for you. But like Matt said, just look at what you get on monitoring, because sometimes if you've got too much there, you can't see the wood for the trees. So that's it on the credit report. What I will do now is I'll look at, because we've spoken about monitoring, I'll just quickly click on monitoring. And portfolios, here you will have a list of different portfolios that you have set up. If you don't have any set up, it'll just say default, and it'll be default portfolio. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to give it a name if you don't want to. But some people have got different ones depending on different types of customers that they're monitoring. If you click on and look at your portfolios, if you want to add a new portfolio, you simply add new portfolio, give it a name, choose your notifications if you want it to be your main portfolio, and the email addresses that you want setting up. And you can have multiple email addresses that the alerts will go to. So once you've clicked add here, it'll then give you another one. You can have as many email addresses as you want. If you want to edit the portfolio, again, if you want to make changes and then add people in afterwards, you can then just by clicking on edit the portfolio, again, select the portfolio here that you want to edit, and then you can make any changes to the portfolio by changing the name of it, who's the key email address, do you want it to be a default, and whichever, so you can make those changes.
And the beauty with that, Michaela, as you rightly said, it can go to multiple end users. So if you need people to be aware of it, and I think it's really worthwhile making sure that those email addresses are up to date as well, because we have had in the past where there are instances where it's defaulting to an email address that potentially could be the central mailbox at any UPC, for instance. We're getting them, but you won't see them because we still get some through. So it is much better to check those email addresses in each instance and make sure it's going to the right person.
Yeah. Notification rules. Here is where you would make any changes to the type of alerts that you want to be notified of. As you can see, you've got little blue ticks. If you want to change that at all, so let's say I don't want to know if a telephone number changes, so I'm taking it off. As soon as you hit save changes, that's it, it changes the rule for you. When you look at the scoring here, you have a change for the international score. Do you want it if it changes by or what? If it by a different band, if it drops below a certain score or goes above a certain score, if the credit limit changes by any amount, so you can put that in. Or if it reduces by, and you can put an amount or a percentage in here. And I think, like we say, it's what would make you want to look at that business. My former background was in credit management and in procurement. And ultimately, I think it's a case of, when you receive these alerts, make them poignant for yourself. What is meaningful for yourself? If you were to see a change and there's on the credit limits dropped by £100 or £200 or £1,000, if I'm not going to do anything with that, why do I need to look at that alert? So just make it relevant for yourself. If you need any help with the alerts or setting them up or help with your portfolio, again, just reach out to Matt and myself and we'll happily put some time aside to help you guys, okay? But yeah, as soon as you change something and hit save changes, it makes those changes instantly for you. So the next time you receive alerts, it will either include what you've added or remove what you've taken away. It does it dynamically, so it's pretty much up to date. The other thing I want to touch on is the requesting an offline report, so a fresh investigation. So this is if the business is not online. So you'd select the country that you want. And again, let's just say, I don't know, I'm just going to say United Kingdom, because there may be sometimes if it's a non-limited business that you're wanting to deal with, it might not be on the database, but I've just put United Kingdom in, but you can put any country in that you want to put in. You just key all the information of the business in here. Just follow the screen through. I'm obviously not going to do it because I don't want to send a live example through. Just keep hitting next and adding the information that you want. And what that will then do when you've got to the end, it will send that investigation to either the UK team in the UK office or the international team that we have in our Cardiff office. If it's an international request, it will go to our relevant partner overseas. They will contact the business, gather the information that's needed, create the credit report, and you'll receive an email back to confirm that your credit report is now available. Timescales can take anywhere between 3 to 10 working days, depending on which country and how successful the agent has been at getting hold of them. If we can't get hold of them, it'll come back as a negative report because we've not been able to get the information or they've refused to give the information. So what I would strongly suggest is anytime you're wanting to do a fresh investigation, if you inform the business that they will be receiving a call from and on behalf of Creditsafe, they're much more than keen to give us the information so we can create the credit report for yourselves. If you want to view any of your international investigations, it's in here. So it's in Fresh Investigation, View International, and it will have a list of any international reports that you've ordered, and it will also give you the status. So where are they? Are they outstanding? Has it been delivered? What date? And you can search by obviously the name, the date, the country, status, and obviously the order number, so which is the name of the business if you've got lots and lots in there. And it will give you the most recent ones that you've done. So your most recent will always be at the top. Okay. I'm going to move on to bank verification. So bank verification, we now have confirmation of payee. Sorry, it's just playing up a little bit, just bear with me. And this was added in the back end of last year, so middle to sort of second quarter, third quarter of last year, where we now have a whole range of banks. And I can get all of the banks that take part of this. I'll get that over to Matt. So if you want that, Matt will have a list of it for you that you can send out. But we now have confirmation of pay. So it doesn't just confirm that the account and sort code are correct. It will give you whether the business name or the personal name on that bank account is correct as well. And in addition, we've now got the sort code checker. And what the sort code checker will do is tell you what type of bank account it is and what type of payments can be made out of that bank account. So from a credit, or, you know, if you're expecting payments from somebody, you know, can they actually make back payments from that bank account? Can they set up direct debits? So it's just something to be aware of. But it is available from a business perspective and on a personal bank account as well. I've just got some demo examples. So if it's a full match, it will give you the details. So we put in Creditsafe Limited, and yes, the name is correct at Creditsafe Limited. It's a full match. And again, it tells you here, these are the type of payments, and it gives you a little bit more information about the bank itself, as the address, telephone number, sort code, the BIC code, and the CHAPS BIC code as well. So you've got all this as additional information that's now part of the bank verification checks.
I think with that as well, Michaela, looking at it from the outset there, where there's the business, personal, and sort code checker, it's worth mentioning that from the sort code checker element, it'll give you that one piece of information just as a quick thing, but it still would count as a bank verification set. So if you do one that covers it all, then it's probably more economical to do it that way, really, isn't it? Just to, if you're going to get all the information.
Because if you just check on sort code only, that's absolutely fine. You can check just on the sort code, but that will just tell you like the bank, what bank it belongs to, and what type of payments can be made. But it's still classes as a search under the bank verification. So Matt's exactly right. You may as well just do it all, and then you're making sure that that bank account belongs to that person, whether it's a business or it belongs to the person. If it's a close match, again, it'll say it's close, but the name is Colin Gum, and it's actually Colin Callum Gum. So you'll still be able, so payments will still be made, one thing and another, but obviously you've not got the exact name on the account. And again, you can see that they can't make faster payments, and they can't make any backs payments or receive backs payments out of that account or into that account. And the last one is where it's a no match. So we've put in the name here of Julia Audi. It actually belongs to a Sarah Hawkins. So it's a no match. And because it's a no match, obviously any payments you want to make to Julia Audi won't go to that account. So that's why you've got all the crosses there, guys. It doesn't mean to say that that bank account can't accept those. It's just telling you that because you've not matched to the right person, we'd strongly advise that you don't make any payments to that account. And then if you want to search your history, so any searches, I'm going to move everybody over. If you want to search your history, it's all here. So if you just look at the history, it will show you the searches that you've done, what searches were made, what bank account details did you input. So from an audit perspective, it gives you all of the information here, and you can view it. So again, if you want to double check, 6 months or 12 months time, why did we change that account, or why is that account in there? You've got the full audit trail, and that's always available on the Creditsafe portal. So you don't have to download and save that information. It will always be there for you. I'm going to move on to our PEPs and sanctions data now. So that is under KYC Protect. What I'm going to do is very quickly show you how you can do these searches. Sorry, just bear with me. You can do it from the body of the credit report. Oh, it's going all over now. Sorry, just bear with me. Company search, there we go. This is a business that I know has PEPs and sanctions information in. But when you're actually in the credit report itself, you can either go straight to doing a KYC check, and this is a PEP sanctions, adverse media, law enforcement. I'll show you what it all covers. You can do it direct from the credit report here, or you can scroll down and do it into here and create your profile and then do your screening. Whenever so I'm going to do it, it's easier, much easier, guys, to do it direct from the credit report. Then you're getting all the credit information, and then you can just go straight through and do the KYC Protect report. The first thing you have to do is create a profile. And all that basically doing is creating like an account on KYC so that any checks that you do will all be grouped together on this business for both the business and any individuals behind the business. So you can just put in, just leave the name if you want, or then you can put with a reference number. And then once you set it up, so let me just move everybody out of the way. You just create the profile.
Yeah.
You can then come into the profile and then start to do the changes that you want to do and actually start to do the searches that you want to do. So here we're now looking at both the business, the key parties, which are the people behind the business, the directors, any UBOs. So again, it'll look at who the ultimate beneficial owners are, and you can do searches on all of them literally just by clicking. So on this one here, I'm going to search on the business. I'm going to do the screen. I just want to screen that particular business there. So I'm going to do the screening. That's now gone away and done what it needs to do there. I'm going to look at the directors. I want both of them. So I'm going to select all and it'll do the screening for me. And then a UBO. Well, on this one, obviously, Natalia is already a key party. So I don't want to screen the UBO because I'll be doing it twice because it's the same person. So now it's done, we've selected the AML screening or KYC screening. It's now giving me all of the results. So here you will see, obviously, if there's any AML, it is KYC, so it's KYC Protect. It's not an anti-money laundering check. The wording hasn't been changed on the Creditsafe database. So just don't be confused on that. That's something that's coming in the next sprint. So that will be changed. So you can see here now that both that person and the business have enforcement and sanctions current against them. And to view the details, it gives you a picture of the person normally here, and then you can start to come through. So these are all the aliases that this person is using. It's obviously on the OFAC registers for Russia, and obviously additional sanctions that are registered by OFAC. And OFAC is obviously the main governing body for sanctions and other checks. Any current addresses, other categories. So obviously he's got a travel ban, he's got asset freezes, and this is all actual information. It's not a dummy report. And all of your sources are here, and you can click on all of your sources for the data. If there's enforcements, again, you can see all of the enforcements here. So this one both has sanctions and enforcements in place. Any other business links? So he's linked to these two businesses here, and the sanctions against all of these businesses. Any other individual links? So he's linked to all of these individuals. And again, if you click on each of these, you can then do a PEP and sanction check on each of those. So you can keep going and going and going. But the key thing to note here is that the business that you're potentially wanting to deal with has PEP and sanctions information. Again, all the individual links, and then it lists all the sources of data for you. So where are the enforcements, and obviously where are the sanctions? And again, it keeps it all for you. And these are current sanctions that are in place. You can then make any notes that you want to make here. So this is almost like your own mini CRM record on the business. I mean, I know it's not a dummy example that I've put in, but this live business. And again, if you want to look at any profiles that you have set up, they'll all be listed down here for you. So this will keep a log of any PEP and sanction checks that you've done from an audit perspective and show you whether it's clear or obviously if there's any adverse information. So again, if we go into this particular, you can make whatever notes, where there's a pen mark or little pencil, you can make whatever notes you want to make. The other thing as well is that you can add it to monitoring. So once you've done your PEP and sanction check, there's a monitor button. It's already been added to monitoring, but it's here, it will just say monitor, and you can click and it will add it to monitoring, and it will add the business and the key parties that you've checked to add to monitoring. Now, to make it clear, when you're doing a check on a business and the individuals, the credits that it uses one credit for the business and a separate credit for each of the different directors. So on this particular one, I've used 3 credits to do the business and the 2 directors. And then to add it to monitoring, using another 3 credits because you're adding the business and the 2 directors to monitoring. So just be aware of that when you're going in and doing the checks. So when obviously Matt sends your usage report over, you think, oh, well, I've only done 2 checks. It's looking at the business and the people behind the business for you. But it looks at law enforcement, disqualified directors, current and previous sanctions, current and previous PEPs, adverse media. So it looks at a lot of information. If you were to select, when you're going through what type of information, so if we look at the screening, and we want to screen, just bear with me. It's because I've got all of them. When you look at the different types of screening, it will tell you what type of screening you can actually look at. Even if you just select PEP and sanctions and don't select the rest, it's the same charge. So what I would advise is that you just tick all of the checks because you're not going to be charged any more for them. It's one charge for each credit that you go in and utilize when you're doing these checks. I don't know if you're aware, but if you are dealing with a business from the middle of September, any company or any check that you're doing, if you're going to be dealing with a business overseas, you have a responsibility to make sure that the business that you're dealing with doesn't have any current PEPs or sanctions in place. And that's some new legislation that came in at the beginning of September. So what we've done in the contract, if we've increased the volume of the KYC Protect credits, obviously adjusted the price to make it more competitive, because you are going to need to start doing these checks just to make sure that the business you're dealing with doesn't have any PEPs or sanctions. The penalties, if you are found to be dealing with a business with PEPs and sanctions, it's a percentage of your turnover of the business in fines. And again, the government will deal with that. But again, all of this is here. It keeps all of the profiles and does all the screening. So at the point, if you were dealing with a business and it didn't have any PEP or sanctions, you can clearly show that you did the check and there was no information available. And this is a global service, so it covers all countries, all territories. It's not just for the UK. It covers everything. Okay. The last thing I wanted to touch on, and I'll stop sharing now, but the last thing I wanted to touch on is the API. So do you want to do that now, Matt? Or sorry, am I jumping ahead?
No, that's absolutely fine. We are going to be touching on that anyway. I think it was just a point, if it just been kind of a more automated kind of option for integration and how the reports are gotten, but also the potential pitfall of it being automated is the fact that the usage could potentially rocket as well. So it'd have to be looked. But yeah, please do touch on that. That'd be great. It needs to be brought up anyway. So yeah, please do.
Yeah. One of the things that we've added into the contract, because I've had quite a few calls separately from some members, is the API. They want to integrate Creditsafe into your own on portfolios and on platforms. Creditsafe have a product called Connect, so it's our Connect API, and you can directly link into Creditsafe via your own CRM portal. It needs a little bit of dev work from your side, but we've got a team of experts who will help set it up, create a test environment first of all, and then we'll move you over to live. And in essence, what that does is when you've got your own like procurement database set up and you want up-to-date information on that particular business, or you want to create a new record and you want to import the Creditsafe information that you would do, i.e., let's say accounts date, turnover, net worth, credit limit, registration numbers, any sort of data that you would take from the credit report, by simply the touch of a button, it makes a call to Creditsafe electronically, and it pulls that data through and inputs it direct into your platform. So that's what we mean by integration. It's linking your database to the Creditsafe database so that you don't have to manually go in and take credit reports. And all of the products that we have on Creditsafe are all available via the API. So you can have the credit reports, both UK and international, the KYC checks, bank verification, any sort of check that you want to be done, you can integrate it in by using the Connect API. There's an annual charge for the API that you will be charged for, and that's not just for the setup, but for the annual access of the API. And then any credit report you take would come off your allowance. So don't think that once you've got the API in place, that's it, you don't have to pay any more. That's to get the integration set up. If you then take 10 UK credit reports, you'll be charged for 10 UK credit reports. Same with bank verification or KYC Protect. Any report you take, you'll have access and it can come through, but that will come off your allowance. What we can do with the API, because again, like Matt said, is that because it's an automation, it's a direct link and you can make any calls as you want, you will be able to track the usage on the monthly reports that Matt sends out. But if I see abnormal use on the API, we can then send a trigger to be like, hang on a minute, there's been a lot of excessive use on this particular API. You might want to be aware of it. It could be genuine and you've sent a file and you want lots and lots of records updating, but, you know, again, you can put caps on it as well if you only want to have 100 reports through the API or 1,000 or 5,000. You can put caps on it, and when you reach that volume, it won't make any more calls. So again, it just gives you peace of mind that you're not going to be overusing the particular product with the API and integration. So again, we can work with you. Those would be specific offline requests. But if you are thinking about integration to sort of ease, and the return on investment is less manual work for yourselves, then reach out to Matt and we can organise a separate session to go through what that would look like and help you with the integration.
Yeah, I think that's, as you say, Michaela, that it's been a couple of instances where people have looked at doing this already. So it's there are a few of them, but it's just, I think that, as you say, it's a wider project piece in terms of there's a whole integration piece to go with it, and then how it's going to be used thereafter. So yeah, it's good to know that we do have that capability within the contract to do it. It's just a case of how we're best managing it. But as you say, if you get in touch with your parent consortia in the first instance, letting them know that that's something that you're looking to do, and then come to myself and we can just we can escalate that just so it all goes through the correct channels. Really, I've had some questions come in as well.
Yeah,
Michaela,
I've just not seen those.
If I can, I'll just read them over to you so you can be thinking on rather than trying to read and think on your feet as well. So let me just see. So like to be able to check foreign companies' bank details. So the UK check works already, but are there plans for expanding that globally?
Yeah, we're doing that at the moment. So it's with our Spanish head office, and I think it'll be rolling out either back end of this year or early next year. I think we're starting off with our home countries because obviously that's where we have the most data, and then moving out over there. What I'll do as that comes into place, I'll get that information over to Matt so that Matt can share it with all of you to say, right, now we have all of these countries available for the bank checks. So it is coming, it's just not there yet.
Cool. And once I've got that the list as we're adding to it, I can just keep that updated in our central Hunter system where, you know, once we know that it's available in certain countries, we can just keep updating it, however, you know, it might be quarterly or whatever, and just keep that updated and moving. So thank you for that, Michaela. Is there an easy way to find if there is a company classed as an SME?
We get that quite a lot, and I can see that the following questions, while a breakdown of micro, small, and medium and large, it's normally down to like the turnover of the business and how they file accounts. What I've done for a previous member is we've had a list of their companies or their businesses they deal with sent over, and we've appended that information for you, and we can do that free of charge. There isn't an easy way really when you're looking at the report to say yes, this is an SME, but it is down to the turnover. So what I could do is send out through Matt is what do we class as the turnover for a micro, small, medium or large business, and that might help as a guide for you. So I'll get that over, and you can use that to start off with, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, it seems to make sense. It's almost a case of if you've got kind of that parameter set as to what we would identify or class that as initially, and then look at around, you know, if you want to do a bit more delving for ones that are just around that sort of level, they're the ones to do. But yeah, as you say, some of them there with the turnovers, they could be pretty self-evident. But yeah, we'll look at that one as well. There was a question saying, can you just search on an account number and sort code with no name, so it gives you the name that it should be on the account?
No.
Okay, that's cool. No worries. Is there a link to the bank verifications? I've said yes. There's basically inclusive in the contract. There's 11,000 of them nationally for the year. So if you're looking at doing a big project of, say, going through your whole database of suppliers to look and do bank verifications on all of them, that's not really the intention of this. This is something that is be used on a day-to-day basis, people using it when they're onboarding somebody new and whatnot, doing something retrospective or across a whole database of suppliers. That would probably be classed as project work, and that's something that that we would have to discuss with Creditsafe. But yeah, better off asking the question first rather than just doing it, because it can, you know, if some of the larger institutions, if they were to do something retrospective, it could probably obliterate that in one go. And obviously there's a financial implication there. So yeah, if we go from that one, Ryan asked, where do you get the bank details from for the system in terms of what data sources? I know there's tons, so I'm handing that over to you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send over a list. So just so you know, I've done this project. I've done quite a few projects with quite a few other people in procurement. And I know in procurement, you normally have to contact the business, telephone and verify the bank details. This, by doing the bank verification checks, it removes that. It's a trusted source. I'll send over all of the banks that we get the information, and it's direct from Registered Trust. So it's direct from the banks. It's not like another data source, someone making up the bank details. It's direct from the banks that we're getting the data. So it is accurate and up to date. But like I said earlier at the beginning, is I'll get a list of all of the banks that we have that we directly get the feed from, so it gives you that confidence of where we're getting the data from. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd looked at that as part of the user guide that I was putting together for people and saying, you know, the frequency at which they're refreshed. I know some of them are daily and some of them are even kind of hourly. So it's, you know, there's an awful lot of that goes on. So I'd put that in the user guide as well, just for peace of mind as well. A question came in for saying, does looking at history count as another check?
When you say looking at history,
yeah,
I don't know what you mean by that, Izzy.
I was going to say, Izzy, would you like if I just enable the microphone for you just a second, then you can just give us a bit of context, so it's just to make sure that it's covered properly for you, really. Just got to find you on the list now, so I won't be 2 seconds. It's under I or M. There we go.
So yes, it's like, what do you mean when you say looking at history count as another check?
Yeah, I'm just trying to unmute it. I mean,
Can you hear me now?
there you
Yes.
go. It is
Yeah.
there we go. Thank you.
It was to do with the bank verification search. You said that you could look at the history of what you'd. And I just wondered whether that then counts as another credit or whether.
No, you're viewing because you've already paid for that, and you're looking at the check that you've done at that time. You're not charged for it. So if you're going to, and the same with any of the products, if you go into the archive, like when you go into the KYC Protect product, if you go in to have a look at what you've already viewed, whether it's from an audit perspective or whatever you need to do, you're not charged again because you're not taking a new report. It's only when you go into the platform and take fresh data, that's when you're charged.
And we do
Okay.
see that quite often as well, Michaela, in terms of where you see duplication happening. A lot of it will come down to, you'll often see three reports having been used with the same data having been accessed 3 times in the last 5 minutes within a 5-minute window. That, as you say, if you go into the archive to look back at something, you can do that without worrying it. Whereas every time you're doing something from scratch, that's taking the reports, and we do see that quite a lot. So a lot of duplication does happen. So it is worth noting that, guys, if you think, oh, I've just done a search, but that piece of information. I mean, if you haven't downloaded it as a PDF and saved it, which you can do anyway, if you haven't done that for whatever reason and you think, I just need to refer back to it, as Michaela said, if you go into the archive, that's definitely the best way, because otherwise you just end up with an awful lot of duplication, basically. Let me take a look. Where did we get up to? We've got Ryan's done his. I think Kerry's point has been covered, has it already? Where do you source the bank details and verification, the information? So you said you're going to send that over, so we'll share that on. That's no worries. Easiest way of keeping data clean, is there a way to mass review and amend the list of suppliers on Monitor? Now, this is something I'm doing at the moment, isn't it, Michaela, where we've put in some parameters around. There is an awful lot of aged data in there, in terms of a lot of it was done before default monitoring was turned off. There was basically, every time somebody searched a supplier, it went into a default portfolio. And that's why the labeling of it comes in as really useful, is if you're keeping it as live suppliers, but you're physically having to put it in there now, which keeps it a lot cleaner in itself. That is much better way of doing it. Whereas before it was just taking everything that we searched and saving it all into default. I think at the last check, I think there's about 240,000 different supplier lines being monitored at the moment. So we're looking to try and reduce it.
Yeah, we've got, for both UK and international, you've probably got over just under 500,000. So you've got 200 and something on UK and about the same on international. And I think a lot of that is probably just old data that you're maybe not using. But to answer your question, what we can do is we can download a list of what you have on monitoring specifically, and I think Matt's got a list of that already. Send that over, or if you want to just say, look, can you delete what I've got on monitoring and send a new list of what you want adding to monitoring. We can amend. We don't do a mass review. So if you want to do a mass credit review, that's a bespoke file, and we can append data. So we can append credit limits, how many staff they've got, turnover, net worth. We can append data to spreadsheets. That would be classed as bespoke work, but we can do that for you. So just be aware of that. If you wanted to do a mass credit review of a portfolio, it would need to be over 1,000 suppliers. We wouldn't just do it for a couple of hundred, because it's just not cost effective. So I'd say over 1,000 suppliers, if you wanted to do a mass review, we can do that, and I can obviously give Matt commercials for what that would cost. But from a monitoring perspective, again, we can help to delete what you've got on monitoring and just reload, and we can match all of your records first, send you the file back, so it's a clean file for you to upload into monitoring. So we can do that as well.
Yeah, and that is a big undertaking that we're looking at from that point of view as well. I mean, I've got the as Michaela mentioned, the overall looking at the data, and there's some of them that have been there a long time and never been touched. And the worry is that they're still generating updates and all kinds of things. So it really does does work well and pays dividends for each of you to make sure that those portfolios that you've got are set up and are relevant. You know, there's in the how-to guide and the best practice elements of that, I've touched on that as well. I mean, for instance, if there's frameworks set up and the framework providers are already covering those, so you're not needing to monitor those as well. But if you refer to those guides, they're probably the best bet. And then if you need a discussion around it any further, it can be either your parent consortium contact or myself in the first instance to look at what we can do. Questions around API.
Yeah, I can see those. So how to integrate the API. I think on that one, if we take that offline, ultimately what we would do is we'd set up a sandbox environment for you, first of all, for your dev team to have a look at. And it would literally be, you know, what sort of data do you want pulling through? Every piece of the credit report, we have what we call an endpoint or a JSON file connected to it. That would mean something to your IT. I'm not a dev person at all. You know, it's just things that I just know. Obviously, we're dealing with the APIs over a number of years. But if you are interested in how to integrate and what that would look like, I think just reach out and we can have a separate conversation. I think, like Matt said, I think if you want to put those requests directly through to Matt first, and then Matt will come through to me, and then we can set up a separate Teams call just to sort of show you what the API looks like and how to integrate. But to be on the call, to make it a little bit relevant, you maybe need somebody from your IT department to be on the call as well, or somebody that's got a little bit of know-how on how to integrate and connect things. But our team at the office are very, very good. It's very, very simple. We can get most people up and running on an API within a couple of weeks, sometimes within a week, depending on how technical you want the API to be and what type of checks you want to do via the API. And the next one down, it links with more systems. I think on Unit 4, I'm sure it does, but again, we can look at that separately for you. So again, anything on API, if you want to come through. Cost for the API is 5,000 for the year, and that's just a one-off cost. Sorry, that's an annual cost. My apologies. That's an annual cost of 5,000, and that includes the initial setup, and then obviously access to the API, and it's billed monthly. So you wouldn't receive just a one-off invoice. We would obviously bill you monthly for that. If we're not using the API and just using web, our bank verification checks limited. I think Matt's covered that already. I think you've got a national limit of 11,000 bank verification checks. Obviously, if you are using more, Matt and I will look at what do we need to do to add more in for you. One thing I'll say as well on the bank verification checks is that we can do a bulk upload and do a bulk check on bank verification. So if you're wanting to look at maybe all of the suppliers that you have in place and do a mass check of all of the bank details, we can do that for you and give you separate commercials rather than you going in and manually doing all of those checks. But yeah, with that, nationally. Sorry,
and I'd read that as well, is that obviously if you don't have the API integration, the information you access is still exactly the same.
It is.
It's not degraded in any way by doing it through the internet, just doing it through the portal. It's still all the same information. It's just a different way of integration. That's all.
Yeah, it just means that the API will pull the information and actually put it into your CRM, rather than you physically pulling the credit report and reading it on the credit report. So again, when we're looking at setting up the API, the first thing I always say to anybody is, what information do you want to look at? And what are the key bits of information that you need, whether it's looking at the credit reports, the bank verification, the PEPs and sanctions data. So it's all looking at that. Advise on other collective usage limits that apply on the agreement. I think Matt will probably, if he hasn't already, maybe send those out, because obviously Matt's got all of that information. So I'll leave that one for you, Matt, to send out. Obviously, we've got 11,000 nationally for the bank verification. And obviously there's other limits in place. But again, Matt will probably send that out so that you know what's in there. I think any follow-up questions, I mean, if you want to direct them to Matt, and Matt can send them on to me. But again, I'll leave that up to you, Matt. If you want them to come, if you want to send it to both Matt and myself, I don't mind, because then I can reply quickly. But again, Matt, I'll leave you to make that decision and let people know. In terms of sanctions and risk profiles, we're looking to include any corruption and environment. Corruption and environment. I can't even speak. Corruption is in there, and environmental sanctions of a company that is coming through, and that will be available at the back end of this year. Well, the environmental sanction checks. How do you get the monitoring to go to your email? If you monitor, choose the portfolio. So if you click on portfolios, choose the portfolio that you want, edit the portfolio and put your email address in here, or add a different email address in. And once you click confirm, it'll then make the changes for you straight away. So again, go on portfolios, select the portfolio you want, edit portfolio, and then make any changes.
Worth mentioning on that as well, Michaela, obviously under each ID on there, whether there's your ID, it'll be set up with, obviously, a lot of the accounts will show my email address on them because it's set up as kind of that master account. But beneath that, there is a section where each institution will have its own email address, so it's making sure that that's right as well, because if that's set to a Creditsafe central mailbox that comes to us or somebody else, any reports that they don't add any information on or additional emails, it won't go to where it needs to be. So it's worth checking that as well.
Yeah. Next one down is to get archive reports. I'll just quickly show you. So archive reports is under here, under your ID. Let me just go back to home. I think you need to be at home on it. So under your ID, if you click on my account, products and services, and archive is here. And it'll list all of the company reports that you've taken. This at the moment is just under your user ID and password. It's not for your it's not for the whole of your group or the whole of your business. That is something that's coming. It's for each individual person. It is coming, and we're building it so that we can then group your accounts together, so that when we group them together, you can see within your business who's taken what reports. But that's on the roadmap, and that'll be a couple of sprints away. But again, I'll let Matt know when that's available. But yeah, under my account, products and services, archive, and it's there for your individual user. User guides, I think you said that they're on the Hunter system.
Yeah.
And regarding turnover, regarding turnover, if the business is under 10 million turnover, you'll just receive the profit and loss. If you want to find this information, I don't know if you remember I said that you can go direct to Companies House. So when you go into a credit report, I'll just put Creditsafe in again. So let me just move over. I'm trying to move everybody over because you're blocking my view. There we go. Where it says image documents, this takes you direct into Companies House. So from here, you could go in and actually look at the annual accounts. And if you click on there, it's the full accounts that have been filed. But again, just bear in mind, they don't have to file the full accounts. Some do, even if it's under 10 million, some don't. They will only file the profit and loss. The other way is then if you wanted to ask the business for a copy of their accounts, and you're well within your right to do that, and get them to send them over to you as well. But yeah. How to request international companies when the report is not available. Yes, there's a charge for it, because obviously you're requesting a bespoke report. And I don't know if you may have joined the call a little bit later, but when you come in, it's under fresh investigation. So if you come under credit and risk.
The thing is with this one, Michaela, we've got it restricted in terms of people being able to access this, they need to request this from us. So there's a
Right.
there's a
I'll
report
let you-
form that there's a
I'll let you cover
report
that,
form
Matt.
and a process. So ultimately, if you want an offline report, you send it through to the central mailbox at NEUPC, which is Creditsafe at neupc.ac.uk, and there's a process to follow with that, because ultimately what we did is basically we bought so many of these reports up front in order to get economies of scale to just buy a lot of them at once, and then we just countercharge them back as and when they're used to by members. So yeah, if you follow that one through, because all that fresh investigation element of the website, it shouldn't let you order them straight through there on their own. So if you want to send that through to myself at that central mailbox, there's a few of us with eyes on that. Yeah, and it's normally between 2 and 10 days, but yeah, if you want to send it through there, and the form as well, that will also be on Hunter. I think it is, but if it's not, I'll certainly make sure that that's there so you can refer to that at any time as well.
So yeah, obviously there's a charge for it because you're requesting a report offline, so that is a little bit more expensive. But yeah, but again, we've put like better pricing. Roadmap, yeah, we're updating the roadmap. I'll get that over to Matt and send it through.
And
so
it's worth touching on that as well, Michaela, because we've discussed this, you and I, about in terms of keeping people up to date, and there will be periodic webinars on this, that when new products or whatever else, so at the appropriate times when roadmaps coming on board, just making people aware of what functionality is there, and then to start having that conversation as and when. So the intention is to keep that channel open in terms of constantly ongoing, if there's new functionality there that becomes available as part of the contract or different ways of working, it's all part of the learning program that we're going to look to do as well. So we'll keep that up to date for sure. But yeah, if you've got something static at the moment, and then we'll breathe some life into it as and when we need to, won't we, Michaela, at the time?
Yeah. And I think ultimately, I think it's looking at when new legislation comes out as well, and if there's any major changes to our database, like now for directors, you know, a director has to confirm their identity. They can't just register themselves as a director anymore. So they have to then give their proof of identity and upload a selfie and their passport and driving license. So that's something new that's come in. Doesn't mean you have to do anything. It means that a director now has to do that to confirm they are who they say they are. So again, that's something that's been rolled out, and it came in a few weeks ago that they now have to do that. And again, for consumer reports, you know, there's again all new legislation about consumer reports, and the AML checks, the anti-money laundering checks, and ID checks that are available. There's lots and lots and lots of information that Creditsafe can provide. I think what Matt and I have tried to do is look at where you are as a group now and what information do you need. But if there's anything that's not currently in the contract at the moment and you have a requirement for it, just reach out, because I guarantee you that Creditsafe will be able to provide it for you. And again, we can take that offline and outside, but again, still give you competitive pricing because you are a member of the NEUPC. And that's the benefit of being a member of this consortium, because you get much cheaper pricing than if you were to come to Creditsafe direct.
Yeah, and it's always worth it, having that conversation. I mean, Rachel touches on there saying in terms of, do they always email the NEUPC email? It depends what it's for. If it's something that you're already using, so for things like fresh investigations for offline and things like that, anything like that, that would come through to the NEUPC mailbox. But I think it's in terms of if you're doing something different, you're as well discussing it with your own consortia rep, just because there's potential for knock-on effects around usage. And of course, this is something that's provided at the moment to members as part of their membership. And, you know, we've just got to make sure that the usage is managed and doesn't get to a point where it ends up, you know, kind of growing arms and legs and just getting far beyond what it was intended to be. So yeah, if you're ever in doubt, that central mailbox is always there for everybody, and we can always put it back in the direction that it needs to be if it does need to be a consortium. But yeah, speak to your local reps at the consortia if you've got any questions about anything, and they can always send it on to us if it's for us to answer as well. So it's covered both ways and either way that way. Again, each of your local reps details are included in the user guide on Hunter as well, so that you can refer to that. There's a thing at the bottom there from Prabhu saying in around the regulations above in the PA 23. I'm not sure if that's a statement or a question, to be honest. Let me just. Can you give us a little bit more context around that one, perhaps? Let me just see.
It's around the Procurement Act 2023.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what you mean.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hi. So I just need to know the difference between the image reports, image documents, and the difference between the PA 23, where you have the option of receiving financial statements from the suppliers who bid it for us. So as a background check, we basically go through the supplier's information in PSQ evaluation. Also, some of the data is mainly the financial reports from the specific supplier. Whilst in the Creditsafe, what is the statement that you could find it out in the image documents? Is it something different, or what would you be able to find out?
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with somebody new and you're doing due diligence checks, yes, the first thing you would do is obviously take the credit report to have a look at the financial stability of the business. Totally agree with that. The only one I pointed to the image documents was if you want to see the full set of accounts. So we will obviously file the abbreviated accounts. We don't put every single line of the accounts within the credit report. We put most of the data that you would want to see when you're doing a check. So if the business has a credit report available, that will give you what you need, and it should give you everything that you want to have a look at. But again, just if you want to receive the full set of accounts that they've filed with all of the auditor's comments and things like that, you can go onto account images and request the full set of accounts from Companies House, but that won't give you the Creditsafe data on top of that. That's literally just the raw data that they've filed at Companies House. Okay.
I think that's covered that. That's great. Thank you. I'm just looking at the questions. I don't think there are any more questions coming in. I'll just give it a couple of minutes. I mean, we are nearly out of time anyway, but thank you very much to everybody for joining. We will be, as I said, making this available afterwards as a recording as well on the NEUPC YouTube channel, which is a thing. But it's good to refer back to just any of the points that if it's an aid memoir, or if any of the members have got colleagues that that haven't been able to attend just this morning, it's there to refer back to. The documentation, as I say, is in Hunter to be accessed, and if you have if there's any questions further to this, please send them through to the central mailbox. It is better to send it to there. I mean, you can send them to myself as well. It's just that with that central mailbox, we've got several pairs of eyes on it rather than just mine. And sometimes mine I can be pulled in several directions at once, which we can all relate to, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, if there is anything else that comes from this as a result of any of the discussions we've had, but I think the key message is we're going to be very clear on data and usage, and working together to keep people up to date with where we are with things, and just effectively just make the service available to everybody and use it in the right way, and make it the best that it can be. But for anybody wanting that central mailbox, if anybody does need it, it's creditsafe@neupc.ac.uk. So that's a central point, but there are the local contacts available as well. So yeah, it's thank you all very much for joining, and thank you very much to you, Michaela, for taking us through what's available to us and what have you. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be reconvening again. I'm sure that we'll have many more things to discuss as time goes on. But yeah.
And I think, like I say, guys, look, it's obviously a pleasure to obviously have you all in attendance today. Thank you for your time. If there's anything outside what I haven't covered, or if you've got any more questions or need any more help, just reach out. I think, just clarify, Matt, I think do you want everybody to come to you first of all, to the credit at NEUPC first?
Yeah, I think that's
That's
probably
fine.
better just for things that are covered within this
To keep it
contract.
yeah,
But for
absolutely.
anything more project based, or and the thing is, we'll speak to one another anyway. So if something comes to me that we need to send to yourself, or vice versa, if you can say, well, this is part of what we would cover as the contract, speak to Matt. But if not, if it's something more, as something more project based, or indeed doing with functionality that isn't covered within our contract for whatever reason, it can be special projects or anything. So yeah, between us we will capture it. So that's the main thing. But yeah, if there aren't any more we can leave it there. And yeah, hope to hear from a number of you in the future. But there we go. Thank you very much, everybody, and take care.
No worries, guys. Thanks a lot, guys. Nice to meet you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.